Wait, did you say Colab or what?
No.
I'm sorry. You want the Colab?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your I'm sitting on my entire one. I don't have a blank copy, so you can figure that out because a lot of it's going to be.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. So it's the same haircut.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 164.
So I'm not really good at it.
Okay, question, do you get 1 and 3 for all the time?
Well, if you've already, well, here's my idea.
You just did it for it on that too.
Yeah, I just scrolled. So I just deleted random every 3, and I just did like a double line number.
I did all my choices. So like I did, because you're supposed to have 4 tabs, right? So I did my random number was 1. Yeah. And I printed up my stuff. I had choices 1 through 4. And I had all my.
We need to make sure you put it. I have random as well.
So what are you trying to do?
Yes, please. I constantly.
Oh, you made one, you changed it.
I don't see it scrolling.
Okay, I was just confused. Like, I thought we both had 2 of the random meetings. Like 2 of the random.
That's what we're supposed to do.
No. I thought, like, for the, what is your name of your,
Everybody's working so hard.
And then each lucky number
Yeah,
has a
yeah.
different tab.
I know, I thought for some reason, but we had 2 of the meetings.
How's everybody today? Good.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Good. Got some music going for you earlier, and I'll put that on when we're working on our labs because it seems to be calming everybody a little bit. It's music that's supposed to help you concentrate. It's not music that's supposed to help you go to sleep, so don't worry. It's not supposed to make you fall asleep. But I'm doing that thing to you, like what happens at work. What happens at work? You're working really, really hard on a project, you're really intense, and you have all your thoughts dedicated at it, and somebody pulls you off of it and makes you think about something else. And it happens all the time. It's going to happen to you now because we're going to go look at this Colab document and finish it up so that we can make sure it's ready to turn in tonight and talk about the other things that we have going on this week. Because we've been really focused on working on our quest. You guys have been doing a great job, and everybody's been really using it to think instead of just trying to get it done. That's so important, because if we have a project that we really just let it grow and kind of figure out things that we can do, we can learn so much more than if we're just focused on finishing. So today I'd like to do our Colab document, and then if we have time, if we haven't run out of too much time finishing up our Colab document, we'll do a practice exam for the Unit 3 exam together. If we don't have time, that's okay, because you guys know the practice exam is out there.
Yeah.
The Colab document is due tonight, but if we feel like that date needs to be changed, you know what, I'm in charge of it, I can change it if we want to. Is it okay? And we can do that, but I don't think we'll need to, but if we need to, we can. Because we have a lot going on this week and we're kind of right up against Thanksgiving, I went ahead and made your unit exam, the exam part and the hands-on part, both due next Monday night, 11/16, okay? So get that down on in your head, in your notes. That's next Monday. So we will have class before then, but our class time will be looking at using arrays. So we won't be using class time at all for that unit exam. That unit exam will be kind of on your own outside of class. It's just due Monday night. So getting a few things stacked up on you, kind of like it would happen at work, where you're working on this one project and I'm like, no, you can't, and dragging you around. That's what happens. So don't forget, Monday night, your Unit 3 exam and your Unit 3 hands-on. Your Unit 3 hands-on is definitely not as challenging as the quest, but I hope that you don't find it too easy. You know what, we want it to be kind of in between so that it's a little challenging, but not overwhelming. So that's what I hope with that one. Okay, so Wednesday then will be totally lab time. So that's gonna be one of those kind of days. If you come in because your group wants you to come in, that's great. If you guys decide you're gonna work from home, that's fine too. I had planned that we were gonna kind of show our quests at that point, but we'll be better off if we wait until Monday because we have our quests due on Thursday. So this will give everybody more. I was thinking Wednesday we could look at them and see where everybody is, even though they weren't quite done. That kind of bothers everybody, so we'll just wait until Monday to look at them. So as we look forward then, next Monday, a week from today, we'll present those quests quickly to each other. We don't want it to take hours and hours, but I do want you to be able to show off what your group has done. So we kind of want to keep it a happy medium. And like I said, we'll start with chapter 7, which is processing arrays and lists. And with all of the experience that you guys have gained, chapter 7 will probably seem kind of like a non-event to you. So we'll see. All right, I'm going to find that Colab document because the one we're looking for is our chapter 9. So it says week 11. So week 11, chapter 9, subprograms is the one we want. Get everybody admitted here. Got everybody here. All right. So when we started on this one, I was just going to kind of go down through the table of contents and look at the student activities. We did 9.1 together. So as we go through, if you see that you're missing something, make a note so that you can go back to that later, maybe get from one of the other people in your study group or get with me if you can't, if they don't have it available. Now, student activity 2 was one where you were supposed to update the text block to explain arguments and parameters. So that one's up to you. Student activity 3 was our horse of a different color where we were passing arguments with the color and the duck. So again, you should have that one. Student activity 4 was where we surrounded the words with stars and then had a little function to print out that word surrounded by stars. Student activity 5, we did an actual passing of an argument to a parameter. So we got to see that happening with passing our number. Now, student activity 6 was a special one. This is the one that I said we can't really do easily in Python. So make sure you update that Python code with just a comment that says there's no way to pass by reference using Python unless we use Python lists. And actually you typing that in there is going to help you remember that too, that that's not something you can do in Python. And hopefully it'll remind you what passing by reference is. Remember, passing by reference means we're looking at the variable at the same location in memory as the other function. So we're sharing that variable in memory if we pass by reference. Okay, student activity 7 is one that we need to do, right? Now, some of you might have it done. So if you do, you can help us. But this is one of those big ones that I kind of left for everybody. And so let's work on it together. And anybody that has any parts of it done, jump in at any point. Or if you'd rather be working on your quest, we totally understand if you've already got this one done. But we want to do it to help everybody. So I'm going to start out with my snipping tool. I swear, I think that sometimes I would have to say that I think it's one of the most useful tools in Windows, right? So I'm going to get a new snip of this welcome message subprogram so that I can move it off the screen so that I can refer back to it while we're doing our code without me bouncing around all over the place. So now I'm going to scroll down and start putting in some code. You there? Not in there, huh? Okay, I gotcha. Did it let you? Sometimes it's like, no. Okay, so let's put in some comments first. And this is our sale price program. And remember, we've done this program kind of since the very beginning. Yeah? Oh, that's okay. Are you in there now? It's not showing you yet. Thank you, Zach. There you are. No problem. Okay, did it let you in? Sometimes it just leaves people hanging. Okay, so our script is going to be our sale price program. Our date, 11/9/2020. So our purpose here is to implement our sale price program with functions or with sub-programs, right? Because we've written this thing so many different ways. Now, that can be confusing to people. I know some students who say, can we just do it once and be done? You can. You can go into accounting and you could do something once and you can be done. But in our field, no, we cannot do something once and have it done unless we're very, 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 very lucky. Because in general, we're going to do something and then we're going to update it and we're going to maintain it. We're going to add functionality to it. So we're going to be reviewing our things often. Plus, we have lots of different ways we can accomplish the same task. So again, sometimes people say, how come we can't just learn the one way to do it and be done? Well, because if you walked out of the room, the next person that asks you a question about how you do something might expect you to have different knowledge. So because we have a young field, we have to be aware of many different ways of doing things, or else we can be kind of accused of not knowing any of the ways of doing things. It's very unfortunate, but you can handle it. I've seen everybody in here figure it out. Our first function that we're going to create for this program is going to be called welcome message. I'm going to kind of use the same names that they use, but I'm going to use lowercase letters to start since that's what Python prefers. Now for our welcome message, we just want to print out a nice message welcoming the user. They have this program is a sale price calculator, period. And then on a new line, they have some additional information. When you enter the original price of an item, and I'm going to go on down to the next line. How much it has been discounted, comma, the program. They get really wordy here. Oops. I just closed it. Sometimes I hit those magic keys. Fine, the rest of it. The program will display the original price, the discount rate, and finally on our last print statement, and the new sale price. Let me get some stuff cleaned up here on this Colab document so you guys can see just this code a little better. Now for this particular application, I could actually go ahead and declare my main. And in my main, I would like to run my welcome message. And then I'm going to create a new code block to run my main. Let's see if that is going to be effective or not. I'm going to try it. Nope, I'm getting too fancy. I'm going to delete it. And I'll just tell it to run my main in that same code block. Now, the reason it doesn't like that is because I haven't compiled or executed this code block ever before. So I didn't tell Colab really about it. So I was kind of jumping the gun. But now that I put everything together into the same code cell, I do get my output. This program is a sale price calculator. When you enter the original price of an item and how much it has been discounted. Oh, I've got then program, and it should say the program. So I can do my little editing here. We'll display the original price, the discount rate, and the new sale price. Because no matter how careful we are, there's still a chance we could have a typo escape past us. So we try really hard not to. Okay, so that's our welcome message function. I'm going to scroll back up and use my snipping tool to get our next subprogram that we need. So I'm going to be looking at this pseudocode for our input data function. Now, looking at our input data function, I see right away that it uses variables passed by reference. And I can't do that in Python. So I'm going to have to do things a little bit different. So let's do that. We have some options here. We can just return these items back to our caller. So we'll change and just add a little teeny bit to this module. First of all, our input data is not going to need any parameters. I'm going to put a comment over to the side. Pseudocode shows parameters, but Python will work differently. So the first thing I want to do is gather data for a variable named price. We want our price to be an integer. So we'll go ahead and cast that. Now in this particular pseudocode, if you notice, we don't have any sort of error traps or anything. And we're just going to follow along and do our program in the same way. So I know you guys know that in reality, we would want some try logic to catch any errors here that might be typed in. But for our particular pseudocode, since we're just in learning mode, we're not going to worry about that at this point. We're going to say enter the price of an item. And then the other variable that we want to collect data for is the rate. And that's our discount rate, the amount that's on sale. So for our prompt on that, we'll say enter the percentage. It is discounted. And then we saw that we needed to return data in variables to our caller. So we're going to return both the price and the rate. Now in some programming languages, we can only return one variable, but in Python, we don't have that limit. So now we've gathered the input. Let's add that to our main. After we print out the welcome message, we want to get the data, our input data. I'm going to call the variables PRI and RA in our main. And these are where I want to save the data that our input data function is going to return to us. Let's add some temporary troubleshooting code to print those out. The price is, comma, PRI. The rate is, comma, RA. And we can put print statements wherever we want to in our code, just to kind of check things and make sure that things are coming out the way that we expect them to. So by printing those two variables, I'm going to make sure that we called input data correctly, returned that data, and then we were able to save it into our variables in our main. What I want you to think about is, right now these two functions are right beside each other. So we know that we have our price and our rate in the right order. But what if this input data function was off on some other server somewhere and we were just running this function? Then we would really be running a black box function. We wouldn't know what happens inside of it. We would just know that we get back the data, the price and the rate from it. So that's when we have to make those calls exactly right. Okay, let's try testing it. So we see our welcome message, and now I see enter the price of an item. I have a typo. I'll fix it. And for my price, I'll put in 45. And remember, we don't want to use the same number for these, or else we're not going to know that our call and return worked properly. Got to make sure we use different data. And I'll say it's a 10% discount. Okay, so my function or my print says the price is 45 and the rate is 10, and that's right. That's what we wanted. Everybody's okay there? No? What's the matter, Austin? You want to show us? You see it? Everybody at home okay? Oh, there's messages. Oh, Brendan, show us what you've got. I'm going to stop the share so you can share with us.
All right, here currently is what I have.
That looks so good. What does it do when you run it?
So whenever I click on this button right here, it could just be a browser issue, but it literally just starts and then it just immediately stops. I really have no clue why. Do you think, do you know what this issue could possibly be?
What is that?
What is what?
Oh, sorry, underneath it.
Underneath this right here? Oh, that extra block? I have no idea.
Shouldn't matter.
I've been programming a lot from this computer, so I'm just kind of confused why just this in particular isn't working. I can try some other things that I've wrote.
Oh, it's that error up above. Let's go up to that error that you have up above. Because when we're using the Colab document, it kind of is all one thing. So an error like that will keep it from working. So go to that one that's an error. Yeah. And
this one right here?
Let's see if we can fix it. Let's just comment out that line. Can you just put a pound sign at the beginning of it?
There's a typo in
Okay, sure.
the T at the end.
They need a T at the end. When he's calling it, it shouldn't matter.
I'll just comment
This line
this out.
17.
So for this code in particular, or the one I was
That
looking
code
up with the
is keeping our other
salesperson?
code from running, yes.
Okay, all right.
We have to fix the errors up there. So if you want to comment out that whole block, you have to use double quotes, not pound signs for a
Okay.
block comment. So 3 double quotes.
Yes, that's right.
And
Thank
3 double quotes at the beginning. That should do it. Now let's
All
go
right.
down and see if your new one you're working on
you. All right.
will work. That's one problem with those Colab documents.
This is weird.
Any other errors anywhere in your Colab document that you see?
I can go and look. Let's see.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Awesome. What's up?
That looks good.
I think the main is indented on the one that's not
Oh,
working.
there's one.
On the one that isn't working. I sorry that I'm interrupting class with this. I
No,
apologize.
you're fine. That one.
No,
Sorry.
no,
Still
no, the
giving you
other one.
errors.
No,
I'm going
I
to
think
enable
the one we
remote
were
control.
working on.
The one where? Okay, all right.
It says the main is indented.
Do what?
Yeah, the define and then the main are indented.
Okay,
Oh, I see it. Yep.
there we
Fine.
are. Okay,
Main is indented.
thank you for that.
So where the def statement is needs to be in column 1,
All right,
where your cursor is.
all right. And column 1 up here.
So your def has to start at the beginning of the line. It can't be indented.
Oh, okay. That's it. Indented. All right. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Same with your main. Called your main.
Line 19. There we are. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. Thanks, Pan. He fixed us. That's why we need everybody's eyes on it. Sometimes they can be tough to see. All right. So now we've got our first 2 functions in place here. Our input data function returns some values. Let's put a comment up there above that input data function. This function will prompt the user for input. 2 input variables will be returned from the function. Now looking at line 16, where we define our input data function, and line 23, where we call it, which of those contains the function header? Is that line 16 or line 23? 16, exactly. The function header is where we declare or define our function. So good job. All right, let's add another one then. Now we need our computation. So I'm going to get this pseudocode. And we'll go code it. So I want this function to be right under my input data function. And remember, I can't put it after my main because it's going to be called by my main. So it must be defined before the main. Now our compute results function does need to know some things. It needs to know the original price. So let's call it O price. And it needs to know the discount rate. That should be it. That should be enough for it to do its calculations. it is going to need to know to calculate a couple of other things. We're going to calculate the amount saved. So I'm going to go ahead and declare it is equal to 0 and the sale price. And right now I've set it to 0. And with Python, you know, I don't need to set up those variables that way, but I want you to really be thinking about the fact that these two variables are going to be calculated within this function. So this function is going to know how a sale works, right? Our input function, it doesn't need to know how a sale works. It just needs to ask for data. This one needs to know how the sale works. It needs to know that the amount saved, whoops, I got a caps lock there, can be calculated by taking the original price times our discount rate divided by 100. I'm going to go ahead and put that in parentheses just because it makes more sense logically to us that way. We know that calculation comes out fine either way, but it's nice to be logical with our parentheses too. So that gives us what the amount off is basically. And now we can calculate what our sale price is, because it's going to be the original price minus the amount we've saved. Now from this function, we're going to need to return some things. And according to the pseudocode, it looks like it's the sale price is the only thing that we need to return. And I'm saying that because they have it set up with an as ref, not because they actually do a return on it, but because they have it set up as reference, which means we have to do a return on it. So let's return that sale price. But I've got a typo I see there. I left out the E. Okay, so let's add some comments here. This function will calculate the amount saved and the sale price. The sale price will be returned from the function. So now that we've got that function all declared and set up and everything good, let's call it. I'll say our variable name is going to be sale in our main, and we're going to give that variable a value by calling our compute results function. And in our compute results function, we need to pass the price, which is named PRI in our main, and the rate, which is named RA in our main. So if I could draw on this thing, let's see if I can make it go crazy. Our PRI here, our price variable, is going to be placed into that one, right? And our RA, our rate variable, is going to be placed into that one, the value. And then we're going to start running our function. So we'll have those values to start off our function. So that magic transfer will happen. So let's print something out after we call that sale function, our compute results, and say the sale price is, comma, sale. So we're building here, and now we're ready to try running this. And now we're testing our welcome message, our input data function, and we're adding our compute results function to our test. So let's run this. Okay, here's my welcome message. Enter the price of an item. I'll do $4.50. And my discount percent will be 10. Try to get some numbers here I can do the math on. So now I see the price is $4.50 and the rate is 10. That's correct. The sale price is $4.05. Does that look right? 10% of $4.50 would be $45. So yep, that looks good. Everybody's working okay? Getting stuff back? Can see it? All right. Let's finish it up then. The only thing we have left is to print out our results. So let me,
Mine just says the sale price is not.
oh, let's check it. Share with us. Zoom in on that thing a little bit, Taylor. Control scroll. Beautiful. Okay, look at your compute results function. Where do you return that sale price?
Is sale looks like it's a minus sign,
Where?
like right above your print statement. It looks like you do sale minus compute. That's sale equal.
Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Close to the bottom, right above your print.
When does sale equals? I'm still not
Sale
price. Yeah. So. Right.
So line 27, there's a typo in the name of your sale price variable.
Right here?
Uh-huh. It's missing the E.
I don't see that on mine.
See how you declared it up above? Sale price equals 0.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't make a big difference. But now, after you calculate the sale price, we've got to return it. So we're missing that line of code. So there we go, return sale price. Good. Now let's run it and see if you've got something. Perfect. Thank you, Taylor. Anybody else? Benny, go ahead and show us. Let's see.
After him, I need some help with the sale price because mine is not displaying.
Did you find it? Can you show us your screen?
Me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I'm on it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So let me full screen this. Let's see. So let me type in something. 50, and it just displays the price and the rate, and not the no print statement in main. Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and stop your share, and I'll show you the print statement that you're missing.
Oh, okay.
You've got it. It's just missing that one line of code. So right. Line 35,
On
I
35.
added in that you don't have. That should fix you up.
Print the sale price is sale.
Did I get it?
Just I'm just dealing with some invalid syntax of main. Sale price is comma sale. There it is. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, let's get this last function in. And again, I want to put it after our compute results function. So this one is going to be output results. And for our output results, we need everything. So we want the old price, the discount rate, and the new price. And in our print statements, we want the original price of the item is and then I want to do that formatting, even though they didn't specify that. What was it? It was like %.2f or something to make it do 2 decimal places with a floating point. Of course, our decimal places will be 0, but that's okay because I just want to do that formatting. And then for our formatting, since we set up this parameter, we said right here where this % is, I want you to replace this % with something else. It's a replacement parameter. And what I would like you to replace it with is the old price variable. Because I have the %, I have to put the % there and say that replacement should be the old price variable. We'll have to see if we got that formatting right, because it's definitely not something that I can do off the top of my head like that. Sometimes I have to do a little research on it. All right, so after we've got our original price, we want to print the discount. Yes?
So I'm a little confused on what that %.2f.
I know, but you guys did 75 things in Code Academy on it. You're totally understandable. So it's a replacement value. And that % tells Python, I would like to replace this area of this string with something else. And then after our string is completed, we have the comma, and then we list all of the things we would like to use to replace any % signs we had in our string.
Oh, so it's like a placeholder.
It is exactly a placeholder.
And then you just put after the string what you want to replace.
Yes, yes,
Gotcha.
exactly. So we only have one placeholder, and we'd like to replace it with our old price variable, and we want it to print as a fixed numeric with 2 decimal places. So that's what the 2f is after our %. And with Python, there are so many different ways to format our output that sometimes we just have to try fiddling with some things a little bit. Now, I want my discount to be the same way. So I would like it to say something like the discount is %. And then I want the rate that we're using. But then I'd actually like the %. So I might get us all messed up here. We'll see if we can do that. So I'm going to say in our replacement values, we would like rate to be our variable that we use to replace that % within our string. And then I'm trying to add another % that actually prints out in the string. So we'll see if we can do that. Lastly, our last line of output is going to say the sale price of the item is, we want a $. And again, we want our placeholder to be 2 decimal places, floating point, and I want our replacement parameter to be our new price variable. So we've got a few things to test here. Plus I've got a typo. The sale price of the item. Okay, so our output results function, let's put a comment here. This function will output calculated results, output formatting will be accomplished using replacement parameters. Maybe. So now, one last thing here in our main, let's call our new output results method. Or function. Sorry, I C#, yeah. Now our print statements that we had in our main were just for debugging, and we've debugged those. So I'm going to delete those print statements out of our main. I like using tools like the visualizer website that we found where we can visualize our output for debugging more than using print statements, because the print statements can kind of cause us trouble, but it's a really, really good way to debug things. Okay, let's try it. We should have a complete app here. Oops, in my output results, I see a problem. When I put in that call, I was so busy thinking about commenting and things that I didn't put my arguments in to be used for my parameter values. So first of all, in my main, to pass in my old price would be my PRI variable. To pass in my rate would be my RA variable. And then my sale price is my sale variable. So I better make sure I'm passing those in to my output results function, or it won't have much to output. Okay, let's try it. Oh, it's not at me right away. Because I don't know what you're doing here with this thing, but it's really, really messy. So let's go search. Python output formatting. Now, they say right here, there are several ways to format output. Well, they're not kidding. There are so many. I think that we're also seeing a little bit of difference between one version of Python and another version of Python. So I think that the main problem might be this comma. So I'm going to get rid of my commas. I'm looking at, again, differences in the Python versions causing me confusion. All right, so it didn't give me an error that time. That doesn't mean it's going to work right, but at least we didn't get an error. Okay, enter the price of an item. I'll say $4.50. And then it's 10% discounted. So, oh, we got the original price of the item is $4.50. So that worked. It liked that formatting. But then that one I was worried about where we were trying to print out the % sign also, it didn't know what to do about that. Line 34. It says you've got some unsupported formatting characters here. So let's go back and try something else. At the very beginning of our studies, we saw that a slash could be considered an escape character. So let's try that. We'll say, don't worry about the next character after this one, because I don't want you to do anything special with it. Let's try it. 10%. Nope. Now it doesn't like my slash.
Supposed to be a backslash.
Should it be a backslash? Let's try it. Try a backslash there. Just hates it no matter what we do, doesn't it? Okay, let's take it out so we can test. I'm just going to take out that extra percent sign, and then we'll come back after we can test and make sure that that is really our only problem, and then we can do some research. So let's test it. 450, 10. It still doesn't like it. So do you think we should try dot F? Like that better, didn't it? So it said the percent sign in this formatting, the way we're using it, has to have the dot data type after it, the data type specifier. So output formatting in Python can definitely be something that you have to do a little bit of testing with and some finagling with. But that's okay, because in general, you would be sending your output to a web page or to something else to display it. And we can see Python isn't, this console thing is not the kind of output we're used to seeing, right? So even though this seems like a big ordeal, in general, we wouldn't really run into this in the real world very often, because we wouldn't be using Python to format our actual output. Okay, so does everybody's work? We don't have a percent sign after our 10. Yes?
I'm getting a different error.
Oh, let's see.
It's calling out the output results in my main module.
Let's see what you got. Go ahead and show us. Share with us and we'll see.
So this is the error I'm getting right here. And I'm not sure.
Those are all variables. URI and RA.
I have it listed differently.
Oh yeah, he's got them named differently.
So I don't think that's it.
What's it telling you?
It's just
Can you control scroll a little bit?
scroll. You don't have a sale price of 0 up there. No sale price of 0. Oh no, it is.
So go back to like your cursor to this really red line in your programming. Go up one with your left, and then try to type in price after sale.
Price after sale.
Yep, the variable. Like click left a few times with your keyboard. And then,
Oh, I got you. I see what you're saying. That could be it.
Yeah, that looks like it.
I'm getting the same error.
Lowercase and uppercase.
I think sale is fine. I don't think it's just sale price. Just try PRI and then RA.
Well, PIRI is not going to work. That's not what his variable names are. Why would he try that? Now, sale price, however, in one place has a lowercase p and in another has an uppercase p.
You're absolutely right.
So
That could be it.
don't, look at the variables that someone has before you tell them to make it the same as yours. Because if they're using different variable names, that's not going to help. And that's why we want you guys to look at this code so that you see those different variable names and say, oh, that is a difference, but that's okay. Because that's what we want to really notice. So whenever you're calling your output results,
Well, the thing is, I'm using different variables too, but then I have PRI already.
so let's look at the stuff that's really important, since those variable names we've already determined aren't. When you call output results, where does it go? What tries to execute at that point, Zach? You're passing those variables. Where's your output result function header? Does it expect parameters?
Should I have parameters for?
Yep, so you need to name those variables, whatever you want them to be in that function, so that it knows where to copy what's being passed to that function when you call it. Does that make sense? So here's where those variable names are coming into play that Colin's talking about back there. What do you want to name them? In your code, you name them old price you used in your code. But you actually, if you look at it, you said it was going to be named old price in this function. So I would just name it old price up here.
Which function are you referring to?
The function you're looking at, your output results function.
Okay. So O price.
Not O price, old price. My
Old.
mask is making it not come out.
Oh, I got you. Okay. I got confused. I was like, it's O price up here. So, and then rate and then new price.
That's where Colin's back there going, your variables, man, your variables.
Okay. Now let's try it.
Now he sees it.
So
Now it says new price is not defined, because up here, you called it uppercase P. Great, so everybody starts to see how when we put a variable name in our function header, that's declaring that variable. So that's giving it that variable name for that function. So good job, you guys, helping. So be sure you notice how those variables, that data is going from one variable name to another as it goes from the main to the function we're calling. Definitely our area of least resistance. Okay, Brendan, show us.
All right, I'd be more than happy to.
Let's see.
So on lines 42 and 44, I'm not really sure if I did something wrong, but it's just saying that the
yeah, so let's take a
price is
look
not
at
defined.
it.
Oh,
Stop
okay.
talking for me. Listen to me now. On line 44, can't see that very good here. Line 42, you're saying that you want to pass in your price. What did you call price in your main function? Do you have a variable? Look at your main that starts on line 36. Inside your main, do you have a variable named price?
No, I do not.
What did you name the price variable? Can you tell? Did we name it PRI on line 28?
Yes, I do believe we did.
So we'll change that on line 42. Instead of using a variable named price, use PRI. Not
Okay.
where you are. Put that back to nothing.
Can you hear me right now? My internet connection just went in, went off.
36, you need to undo that change you made.
All right.
And it's on line 42 that you need to make it use the PRI variable. So our variables are local. They're only available in the function we're using them in. What did we call rate in our main function?
We called RA, yes.
Just in our main. Don't look at any of those other functions, because our variables are only within the function they're in now, since we're not using global variables. So on 42, you can't use a variable named rate. We don't have a variable named rate. We have a variable named RA.
Yes.
Perfect. Now that last one, what did you name your sale price in your main? Is it named sale price? It looks like it's named sale.
I think it's just labeled sale price, yes.
No, just in your main. That
Just
other
main, okay.
that other function doesn't matter, because we're not in that function. Look at your main.
All right.
Line 36 through line 42 are the only lines we're concerned about.
Okay.
What do we?
I just had it labeled as sale price, which sale price really isn't defined anywhere
Look
in
at
here.
line
So
36 through 42.
36, 42.
Only.
Okay.
We don't have a variable named sale price in your main.
No.
We name that variable where you got the sale price from your compute results function. Everybody help him. What's that variable name?
I can't recall the variable name currently.
On line 40, we call the compute results function, and we save the sale price in a variable. What's that variable's name?
PRI? No?
Hmm?
No. Not PRI, no. Compute results?
What line did I say?
You said 40, correct?
Yeah, so what variable are we using to save the results from the compute results function?
Oh, just sale. Okay.
The sale. Okay, now try it.
Okay, there it is. Sorry.
So that's looking good. Our sale price is not quite right.
Is it earlier in the code, before 30?
Yeah, it would be, but everything
Okay.
looks okay. I don't know. Scroll down a little bit for me. Can I see your output?
Yes, you can. Line 32?
No, the output from the program down under.
Okay, yes.
So I don't see the problem. Anybody see it?
If they're turning 0 at the sales price.
Am I missing something?
Do what?
Am I missing something?
No, I'm trying to listen to someone in the room. What did you say?
I'm sorry.
Turning sales price of $0. But the math is not right on it.
What's not right on it?
The sale price. Keep saying it's $0.
Yeah, we're getting that. The sale price is 0 is even coming back from the compute function. So let's look at your compute function. Scroll up just a little bit.
All right. Compute results?
Yes.
Is the sale price on line 27 in the capital P?
Ah. So there's two sale price variables. One has a lowercase p, one has an uppercase P. We really only want one sale price variable. So that should take care of it. Good eye.
Okay.
Good eye, someone. I sure wasn't seeing it. Yay.
Is that outputting correctly?
Looks like it.
Okay, great. Happy to hear.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Welcome.
Everybody's fixing stuff. I just couldn't see it, you guys. Sometimes when there's so many of us, it's hard to see. All right, everybody else okay? So that was a big one. Now, one of the worst things I think of this activity is trying to, if we get to a point where we're in our minds do it, our brains do it. My brain is, I'm going to snip the pseudocode. I'm going to convert it from the pseudocode to Python. And that's not something we want to do, right? Because our pseudocode isn't really a language. It's just design nodes. And we could just as easily be using C# or Java or some other programming language. So we need to be thinking about that pseudocode more as what our program is supposed to do and we're writing a Python program. So if we keep trying to convert that pseudocode line by line into Python code, we're going to run into problems, right? Because we're just seeing thing after thing after thing that's like, well, in their pseudocode language, they can do it, but we have to do it a little differently in Python. So let's get away from that mindset. Our pseudocode is simply a document documenting what the program is supposed to do. We're writing the program in Python. So if we start trying to copy line for line, we're going to have trouble. We just want to use it as what our program is supposed to do. Especially these last few sections that we use, we're getting further and further away, right? Okay, so we have our horse of a different color. Let me make sure. And I was down there further, so I'm backed up just a little bit to make sure we've got everything. Now on activity 8, we should have our cube. Activity 9, little area function. And don't forget you have all of these when you're working on your unit exam. So this next one that we don't have is 916, and 916 was the one that's recursive. The other one that we don't have is the focus on problem solving, a fitness plan. And that's a really big one. And so for that focus on fitness, that one, I didn't tell you before, because I was being kind of mean, is bonus points. So anything that you get done on this fitness plan will just be bonus points for your Colab document. But we do need to get this activity 10 done, where we're looking at a recursive solution. Let's see if we can get this right. Now, we talked last time about a recursive function, and we said a recursive function is a function that calls itself. So for this one, we've got this little function called sum. So I'm going to define that. And my sum function wants an integer that we'll call n to be passed to it. Not a very good variable name, but we want it to be somewhat close to what they have here. Now our sum function is going to start out saying, if our n variable is equal to 1, then I can actually return that value of 1. I'm done. Otherwise, I'm going to do a calculation, and I'm going to return the value of sum, which is our function, using the value of n that was passed to it minus 1 plus the value of n that was passed to it. And that's all. I'm going to declare a main. And in my, oops, I always leave out that def keyword for our main. Certain things that I just make the same mistake every single time. And I'm just going to print out the value of our sum function using the number 4. I don't want it to be a very big number. And then I'm going to put in a call to our main. So what we should end up with here is I should see something like in the end, 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, because 4 is the number that I'm starting at. And so this is what my recursive call is doing. It's going to say, if this number isn't 1, call me again with a number of 1 less than me to see if it's 1. If this number isn't 1, call me again with a number 1 less than me to see if it's 1. And we're going to keep calling this thing until we finally call it with a number of 1. So this is going to be a good one for us to run. on that visualizer site if it'll work. Let's try it. So I'm saying that I'm going to create this sum of the number 4. Let's try it. And it comes out with 10. So is that right? 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So it came out right. So let's copy this code. It's not much to it. And then I'm going to go to that Python tutor website and paste this code. Remember here, what we're looking at is recursion, a function that calls itself. So as we visualize execution, that's what we're looking for here. So first of all, when I start executing this, we're going to see the Python interpreter read through our def function and get it set up, or our sum function, I mean. So here's our sum function. It's created in memory. Next, it's going to read through our main function and set it up in memory. There it is. It's ready to go. Notice how sum requires a parameter of n and main doesn't. Now we're sitting here ready to run our main function, so let's do it. I start my main, and the first thing it does is try to print the value of the sum function being passed a parameter of 4. So here's our first sum function. We're passing it a 4, so the variable n is going to have a value of 4 in our sum function. We go into the if statement. Is our n equal to 1? No, it's not. So now we're going to return, but before we return, we're going to call sum again using n minus 1, which would be 3. Okay, so now look, sum is active in memory twice, right? Because the first time we used it to call a 4, it never got to its return yet. It's still running. And it called itself again using a value of 3. So now I'm going to keep clicking next. Now, the time that we're running sum with a value of 3 is not equal to 1. So we're going to run sum again, this time with a value of 2. It's still not equal to 1. So this time we're going to run it again, finally with a value of 1. Now, we're finally there to the end of this recursive chain, basically, of sum calling itself. So let's watch what happens. Now that we're at a value of 1, we're going to return 1. Our return value is now 1. I'm going to keep going through it. Now the next time where we had the value of 2, our return value is 3 because we're sitting there at sum equals 1. We're returning now. Notice how as we return, we eliminate all of the executions of that sum function. We finally get back to the first call with our value of 10 that was the sum of all of them. It's still kind of hard to see even using the visualizer website. But the important thing here is really visible that sum was active in memory multiple times for every time we called it. So remember, if you have a function that calls itself, it could use a whole lot of resources. If it calls itself 5 million times, then it is itself in memory 5 million times, could be using up a whole bunch of memory. So we have to be really careful with those recursive functions. But they can really do really cool stuff. So that's what we wanted to get out of that one. Okay, is everybody's working okay? That's it. And we needed to stop there so that you guys have some lab time. Again, Wednesday, all lab time. Come to class if you want to and your group wants you to. If you want to work from home and your group wants you to work from home, do. Don't forget the Unit 3 exam. You have the review questions due tonight. We have a lot of stuff. Make a list. And then after Thanksgiving, we should be kind of on our downhill trend towards getting toward the end of the semester. Let me know if you have any questions, but I'm going to shut everything off. Yes, sir?
I do have a question. It's about another, it's about the fitness program in this week.
Okay, let me turn this off.